Alright, in FreeCAD I want to make a chair like this. So let's get started. I'm going to create a new part, go to the part design workbench, let's create a body and a sketch. And if I orient, I want to create a sketch on my XY plane. With the sketch being created, I want to first and this is rather arbitrary where I'm going to put my origin, but let's create two arcs, and I'm going to dimension the inner radius to 2 inches using Shift R, and I can give this a thickness, at least arbitrarily, with Shift R again. Let's make this 0.375 inches thick, so 2.375. And I can select these 3 endpoints and say H for horizontal. And I can make all these points horizontal to each other so we're fully constrained. Adding in another series of arcs, and I'm going to switch this to be a rim arc. And we're going to add a tangent relation using the T key. And I can make these concentric by merging these points together. So I've got these 2 arcs, and then I want to add a 3rd arc. And I can use the same tactics as before, tangent with the T key to make both of these arcs tangent. I'm going to use the H key to make these horizontal and add a line here. And now we want these arcs to be tangent to horizontal. Oh, and I guess I can merge these 2 points as well, and H for horizontal, and that's what we want. I'm going to take this outer arc and make it 1 inch. Then I can add some other dimensions. And I think what would be best is add a point here that's coincident on this arc and make it vertical to the center axis, so that is actually on the lowest most point of that arc. And I can add a few dimensions. Actually, I'm going to do the same thing here. And again, you can dimension this however you want to because you're the engineer, and this depends on design and manufacturing intent, what will drive these methods. Let's go with 2.16667. We're going to make that yard. Let's give this a width as well. And I want to make the width of this, let's say Shift H and Shift V for a vertical dimension if you need it. We're going to make this 12 inches. And instead of yards, I meant feet. So that's our chair profile, and all I have to do now is replicate this profile over here. That we can do. We're going to use the E key to make these equal and equal. We can make these concentric by taking the 2 center points and merging them. I can use the H key to make this horizontal and horizontal. And we're still not fully constrained. It looks like there's something we're missing here, and it would be a tangent relation. We can grab the center point and one of these points and make it horizontal. Now, let's go for a rim point arc. There we go. Grab the two center points of those arcs, merge them together. Again, that makes it concentric. I can even make this horizontal, and we can add a tangent relation with the T key. Horizontal between these 2 points and horizontal to its center point. You'll notice my screen is really struggling. That's because I'm using a Dell dock. I bought a docking station for my personal computer that I am working on, and it is a terrible option when it comes to having great consistency. So I don't recommend Dell docks, for the record. Never had a good experience with them ever since I've been using the newer Dell docks. So with the sketch done, we can close. And that's what we're dealing with. Let me orient. I'm going to create another sketch. And this is going to be a relatively, well, it'll be an interesting sketch. We're going to do this on another plane. Oh, but I had my sketch highlighted. Okay, with nothing highlighted, sketch. And we'll choose the YZ plane. You can see there's our pre-existing sketch. So what I want to do, and this is going to be kind of arbitrary, is edge import my leftmost point. That can be imported. There we go, there's one. Can I import another one? Yep. Okay. So there's my leftmost point. I'll delete this. We'll get normal to the sketch. And I'm going to create a line. Vertical line. I'm going to take that to 1 1/3 feet. Shift V. And that looks good. Then I can take an arc. Again, pardon my dock. It's a Dell issue. Go with anything but Dell, seriously. We're going to go with horizontal. And I'm going to go a vertical relation here as well. So it's like an exactly 90-degree arc. Let's give this a dimension. Shift R for radius. We'll give that a dimension of 2 inches. Let's use a B-spline. I'm going to choose a 4-point B-spline. And that will be our seat. I'm going to say H for horizontal, H for horizontal. Make sure that these are vertical. Shift H for horizontal dimension. I'm going to make this 8 inches. And I'm going to take the end of my B-spline, actually no, I'm going to dimension from this front to the end of this and make it 1.3 feet. Now, I want to go into a straight line, and we can make that, let's make that 1/4 inch. You know what? I'm going to make that 1 inch. That seems good. And then let's make an arc. Let's Shift R for radius and make this 2.5 inches. And there's a few things to consider here. I'm taking a big profile and sweeping it around here, and obviously I'm going to have a transform sketch here, here, maybe here, here, another one here. And as I extend the back of this chair really high, it's going to affect what I do down here already. So I'm going to have to break this up into probably 2 sweeps. And to do that, I'm going to add in a line and add in another line. Let's select these two lines and select this straight that I made up here and make them equal with the E key. That way I can transform through this, transform through this, transform through this, and that ensures that we are ending without any bends. So that's an important technique when transitioning from one sketch to another in FreeCAD. And when I say that's an important technique to use in FreeCAD when transitioning from one loft or one additive pipe to another, that is my opinion. I've never read that, but that's just what I've been doing in practice. So we're going to close that, and again, forgive my dock. So now that we're oriented, we have our sweep, we have our path. If we want to, for grins, I can choose an additive pipe, also known as a sweep. And note in SolidWorks this is called a loft. So if I call this a loft, that's not FreeCAD lingo, that's the lingo that I'm used to using other platforms. So that's clearly FreeCAD is telling us that it's just not going to work. Oh, yes it is, sorry. I chose subtractive pipe, that's why it showed up as red. But that's what our chair looks like so far. So far it doesn't look anything like a chair, but I'm going to delete this and we can get going on our next thing here. Again, the stock is getting frustrating. Sometimes this is very smooth, other times it is not. So I'm going to create a new datum plane. I'll actually show this sketch as well. Create a new datum plane. We're going to go, and I've already messed it up, so let's try it again. New datum plane, and notice it's on that point that I pre-selected, and that's exactly what I want. I'm going to sketch on this datum plane, and to clear up my view, let's hide with the spacebar. Again, forgive my dock with all this screen flashing. Dell, I tell you, Dell. I'm going to come over here, and we're going to create a profile that we're going to transform our loft into. So I'm going to choose my center and endpoint arc, and I think the origin is a perfectly acceptable reference to use. I'm going to use H for horizontal between the points of these arcs. Shift R for a radius. We're going to make this 1 inch. And we're going to keep a consistent profile, so Shift R for radius again, and we're going to say 1 minus 0.375 because that was our thickness in the other sketch. So we've defined our thickness and our arcs. I want to link on to these points over here. So I'm going to use my edge, pardon my phone. I'm going to use my edge import here and latch onto this arc. And I can sort of share this profile as I go up. So I'm going to straight out copy this imported arc. But I'm not going to latch it to the end. In fact, I can edge import over here and here, make things a little more simple, a line from here to here. And what I want to do, grab another arc that goes to these points, and I want to make sure that on each side this is tangent, so I'm going to use the T key, select my arcs, and use the T key for tangent, Shift R to make a radius, and we're going to make it 12 inches. That's a good profile. Now we're not fully constrained yet. We still have things to worry about like this. So let's grab another arc, add it here, save some time, latch onto that center point here, T for tangent, and now we are fully constrained. So all I want to do is replicate everything that I've done on the other side, and I can use the mirror feature up here. I believe it's this button to do that. I'll try it. I haven't had amazing luck with it, but let's give it a try. To do that, I would make a center line. Arbitrarily, I'll make that horizontal so we're fully defined. I have to get rid of this and this for the mirror, so I'll choose vertical, and we're fully constrained again. So I get to choose these guys. I can choose symmetric geometry, and it does it around my line. And now I have to add constraints to all of this, because I am truly about constraining. And notice it made it symmetric in two ways when I wanted it one way. I just noticed that. So let's try that again. Oh, and now we're not fully constrained. So I'm just going to Control Z it. See that I always have a little bit of difficulty with those kinds of aspects. So I'm going to choose my line of symmetry last, and then mirror, and that copies it properly. I just have to add in all the constraints that weren't added before. So T for tangent, I'm simply going to merge these points together. Now I can make an equal relation here, horizontal, equal. You just kind of keep throwing stuff at it until it becomes fully constrained here. For this, I could probably use the symmetric relation. I would just, I have to choose a point though. Make it coincident on this line, and then under symmetry, here, here, here. And now we're concentric. H for horizontal. H again for horizontal. And now we're fully constrained. So that's the way you can do it. You can also just do as I've done in the last sketch and recreate the geometry. There's options. I'm going to exit. And as you can see, I can test this out. Ideally, if I was to be testing or developing this, I would be developing this sweep path increment by increment as I go, or making this for reference geometry, which I can go ahead and do. Let's see if it'll sweep first off. So we're going to go here, and we're going to sweep along here, and we're going to multi-section, we're going to add the transform here. And I've got inconsistent profiles. So, okay, so when we get that profile inconsistent error, that one was on me. Let's go to sketch 2. Again, pardon my del here. Because we mirrored this, I have a different number of arcs in this sketch than I do in this sketch, and that is tripping FreeCAD out. So I'm going to select these arcs, and I'm going to do a quick and dirty fix. We're going to make these for construction. But I've maintained my points that I want, especially the center point up here is the most important. And I'm going to add a driving arc here. And of course, I've got a degree of freedom. So we're going to add an equal with the E key there. Again, pardon my del doc, it's acting up. I'm going to add in an arc here, and that has done it. So, I'm going to close that. Now let's give it a try. Additive pipe, oh, but we've connected on this sketch. Don't know why that came visible. We're going to click here, pipe. We're going to choose this path here, and we're going to add a multi-section there. So that is our sweep so far, or the base of our chair. And you can probably get a better idea of what we're looking at so far by taking this sketch and taking these elements out of construction mode. And it should update. Oh, looks like my sketch is broken here. Got a redundant constraint. And a degree of freedom. We'll simply make this tangent with the T key. Close. Okay, now my additive pipe is broken. I'm just going to delete it. Again, sorry for my Del Doc flashing screens. Let's get a look at what our basic profile is going to look like before we add some multi-transforms. Grab this, choose a path. Again, this is my Del Doc error. Multi-section, I'm going to choose this sketch. So it won't sweep yet, but I'm going to leave this sketch the way it is. I'm going to choose another datum plane. This plane here. So I'm going to choose another plane. Make sure nothing is highlighted. But of course I need to view my planes. So we want it to be on the XZ plane parallel. So we'll come down here into the origin, XZ, choose a plane, and pick that point. And that's where I want my plane to be. We will create a sketch. Now I can easily reference my overall width by importing a point. After importing this point, I'm going to just plan on making the same profile that I've done before. So I can actually choose my origin, because that origin ends up right on that sweep path. And I'm going to choose Shift R for 1 inch. And I'm going to choose 1 minus 3.75. I have to move it over here. And I put my decimal in the wrong place. That was the problem. 1 minus 0.375. There we go. So we've got the right consistency. Horizontal. Horizontal. I'm going to create this, Shift R for radius. Of course we want this to be the same as the other one, and that's going to be a 12-inch radius. We're going to add tangent relation with the T key. I can add a horizontal relation. Oh, I'm coincident and I don't want to be, so let's highlight this. Delete that because I want to be horizontal. When you sit in a seat, if it has that curve, you want that to be horizontal for your comfort. I can also, when I look at my profile, of course, this line is going to this line, and so to make a consistent profile, I can import that point. Getting back normal to my sketch, I can add in a vertical constraint with the V key. I've only got 1 degree of freedom, and that's going to be connected to this arc, which is, I could probably take care of real quick, I guess. Just like that. So that's where I want to make that tangent, and now we've got only 1 degree of freedom, and that's going to be placing the end of this arc. We can do that decently easily by making this a 90-degree arc, horizontal, tangent with the T key, and horizontal, of course, is with the H key. Shift R to make this a radius of 1 inch. Now we have to add a tangent, again T key, and add a line from a constrained point to a constrained point. Now I can certainly use my mirror function. I think it's kind of a fun sketching exercise to see if you can mirror it yourself manually with no dimensions. So let's give it a try. I have added in an equal relation between these two arcs, made these center points horizontal, and now I hit the H key to make this point horizontal with this point. Moving right along. Oh, but I didn't snap onto that point. And it added an auto constraint that I didn't particularly want, so deleting that, we use the H for horizontal, and we're fully constrained again. This, in my opinion, seems to go as fast as doing the mirror constraint and then adding in relations to fully constrain it. Tangent, I've never timed it though. Tangent is of course the T key. We're going to go horizontal. We can make this coincident. I'll just choose these 2 points and H for horizontal. Horizontal. And now running a single line. So we've completed this sketch. Close. So that's our sketch so far. The big question is, will it sweep now? We'll choose sweep here. We'll choose our path. We'll choose multi-section. We're going to add this sketch, and we're going to add this sketch. And it looks terrible, but we are able to sweep it. Now the front's starting to look like that Panton chair that we're trying to make. Let's continue to add to our sweeps here. This is a great method, I think, because it tells you what your chair is going to look like, and if you're still developing sketches, it's nice to not make 50,000 sketches and then find out it won't sweep. So I do recommend doing this, a little sweep and then deleting and sweeping again as you go. Again, I recommend making our next sketch by highlighting XZ, hitting datum plane, and choosing that point, the very end of our B-spline. We can immediately hide it to clear up our view, and let's sketch on that plane. Again, there goes my Del Doc flashing like crazy. Now I want to make another profile that is a little bit different, so that as it goes up and goes into the actual seat portion, you know, you can be, I don't know, what's the word, comfortable. So let's even out this curve just a tad. And what I'll do is make the seat right on our origin. And of course we want to have some consistency. With our profiles, so we want to have the same number of arcs. So what I'm going to do is choose my arc and make it coincident. And it looks like it actually made an endpoint coincident, so let's just delete this arc. Try it again. We're going to make an arc, choose these 2 points and say H for horizontal. Now choose the origin, and that forces it to make it just straight, coincident with the rim point instead of on an end point. What radius to give this? I'm going to give this a radius of 24 inches, so it's a little bit more flat. And Shift H, let's make this 2.75 inches, and I'm at 2.75. There we go. I will continue that arc. Let's select that point for a concentric relationship. And from the center, so I'll take this up, Shift H. We're going to make that 9.5, and not feet, but inches. Of course I've got something invalid, but that shouldn't be invalid. I probably selected the wrong number of things. 9.5 inches, there we go, that worked. And I'm going to do an arc down here. We're going to make that tangent. And we'll give this a radius of, say, 2.5 inches. And let's keep a consistent width here. This point is going to be our widest point. So I'm going to import the widest point from our last sketch, add in a vertical relation, and that gives us another full constraint. Add a point here, or a line rather. If I make that coincident with the center point, then we know that we're 90 degrees. I'll choose this dimension to make it 0.375 inches thick. Choose another center point arc, and coming from the center point of the other arc, we're going to choose tangent. And one more. And adding a tangent relation. So, how do I properly place this? I think the most dynamic way if something were to change in the sketch in the future is to draw a construction line from point to point and make it coincident to the center of that arc. Finally, we've got 1 degree of freedom, and it's because I need to add another relation, horizontal. There we have it. Now I can choose, I'm going to actually make a rim point arc. choose tangent, equal. I can take this in here and make it horizontal. Let's do the same. Tangent, equal, horizontal. Tangent, tangent. In fact, I'll just take these 2 points and merge them so that they'll always be concentric. Choose horizontal down here. That went horizontal the wrong way. So I'm going to make the point of revolution horizontal instead, and that should calm it down a little bit. Horizontal, equal, horizontal. And now I simply draw a line from constrained to constrained, and there's our sketch. Again, let's see how we're looking. But I prefer to come up from the bottom, so let me get rid of this plane. Sweep along this path. Multi-section, we're going to add this sketch, add this sketch, and then we'll add this sketch. And it's still looking a little bit funky, but even more like a chair. That is the most chair-like we've been so far. So let's get rid of that and work on the next sketch. So on this, let's go with a datum plane, and I always get confused on which plane is which, so looks like we want our XY plane, right? Highlight the XY, datum plane. We're going to highlight that middle point in between the 2 straights. And okay, this plane highlighted, I can hit my space bar and sketch. So that's what we've got so far, and notice that these sketches are concerned with the front. Now what profile do we want for the back of the chair? Let's go with another arc. Of course we want a rounded back end. I've got a rim point arc, so I can simply draw it here, highlight the 2 endpoints and make them horizontal as we have, highlight the origin and make it coincident onto the arc, and then I'll make my center point of this arc vertical with the origin. Now let's go with a horizontal, Shift H. We're going to make that 3 inches. I can also add a radius with Shift R, and we're going to make that 3 feet, right? Make it more of a flat back. Let's make this tangent and equal. Let's actually Shift H for horizontal dimension, and from the center we'll go with 9.5 again. Tangent with the T key, Shift R. Let's make I want to have that inner radius be 2.25, so 2.25 plus 0.375 be my final radius, and import a del doc. Sorry, that del doc is frustrating sometimes. Let's import the widest point of our last sketch and choose vertical. From here, I could make these edges a little bit thicker. Let's say our design intent is to have a little bit thicker than normal here, so that you have a little bit more reinforcement if you were to lean back in the chair. So we'll make that vertical instead of normal, and that adds a little material buildup. That makes it much harder to injection mold, but it still should be relatively interesting. So it should relatively work. Let's take this center point. Just like that, we kind of have a local maximum thickness around here. Let's choose a center point, and I can choose our arc centers, and that should make them concentric. Tangent relation with the T key. Same technique as before, we'll make a construction line and make it coincident upon this center of rotation. And it looks like there's some question as to what our thickness should be. So R, we're going to make that 2.5. Oh, looks like I've got a conflicting constraint. So I guess we know what radius we should be there. I'll simply set the thickness instead by making that construction line 0.375. Choose our rim point arc. Tangent and equal. Horizontal with the H key, of course. Equals with the E key. Equal. Let's make these points horizontal. So I'll need a tangent relation. Equal. But that jumped in the way that we didn't want it to. So I'm going to hit Control Z. There we go. Instead, I'll choose equal Control Z. I think I'm going to try that all over again. Probably some automatic constraint. Equal, there we go. Let's choose tangent with the T key. Horizontal. And we've got 1 degree of freedom. I thought we were tangent, but we clearly need to be made tangent. So there's our tangent relation. Tangent. Equal. Horizontal. Last arc in this sketch. Tangent. Equal. Horizontal. And our last line. Close. Let's see how it looks. Sweep. We're going to select this sketch along this path. I don't know how it already knew to do that without me specifying multi-sections, but just to be safe, I'm going to add. Oh, I know why, because it's sweeping from our top sketch. I was like, that's awfully strange. So grab this sketch, sweep, object, this path, and then we'll make a multi-section by adding this transform sketch. I'm going to add this transform sketch. We'll add this transform, and we're going to add this. And so running the path through multiple lines instead of a single one should allow this to end completely on a flat plane. Let's test that, because if I just end it on a curve, then it shouldn't give us very good properties when we try to add another sweep. So again, if I were to try to sweep out this entire back, it will affect this front face. So I'm going to create another sketch. I'm going to hide a bunch. I'm going to my additive pipe. I'm going to activate that, and let's go. I think it's our YZ plane that we want to create a sketch on. Yep. Import this line. All I want to do is add my back. So let's make these points horizontal. And how tall do I want my back to be? Shift V for vertical. We'll go with 1.85 feet perhaps. Shift R. 1 yard. That reclines back a little bit. 1.25. That seems like a nice chair profile. So now I've got a path. Can I sketch on this face? I can. So this face is planar. And that's easy because then I can do a simple trace. Of course that comes in as a B-spline, so you can't have the expectation that these things are going to come in perfect, but it does give us the end points that we can work around. So I'm importing these edges simply for the points. Draw a straight line here to here. Here's our straight lines. Now I can add in an arc. And I can give this a radius. And of course, the last time I gave it a radius, it's kind of hard to see green on green. There we go, Shift R, but there's our arc, and last time we had it be 1 yard, so 36 inches. And apparently, yeah, that is a fully constrained arc, and I don't want that to be fully constrained, so let's try it one more time. Probably had an auto constraint come in. I need to actually merge these points and get rid of this coincident down here, right? So that's what the problem was. Shift R, we're going to make that 36 inches. Oh, we made that other arc 36 inches, so we're going to say 1 yard plus 0.375 inches, and that will make it the correct thickness. I can choose our center point. That did not snap. As you can see, we're simply using the imported endpoints and tracing the sketch around. We've got a degree of freedom. It looks like this endpoint didn't snap. Merge, and of course it won't let me merge. Let me try it one more time. Of course it's not going to be that easy. So I'll grab the two endpoints and choose horizontal. I think merge probably adds 2 degrees of constraint, and one of the 2 degrees was already fully constrained, and that's why it tripped us in error. I'm simply going to choose my rim point arc and adding in the simple equal constraint. Oh, but of course it can't be equal to a spline. Why is it having me select my spline? We're just going to go equal. There we go. And of course in the last sketch we made this a radius of 2.25. We already have our line pre-drawn. So thankfully, since I have my endpoint there, of course I'm over-defined. So I'll delete my over-defining arc and we'll constrain in a different way. Draw to my 2 endpoints. From here I'm just going to choose vertical with the V key, and that'll fully constrain it. Again, another rim point. I'm going to choose equal radius here. All right. Moving right along. Equal, fully constrained. It's a lot easier doing it the second time when you've already done it. Equal. 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 Let's do another sweep. We've got our sketch. And there is the chair. Looking at the proportions, I think that's a perfectly fine chair. I think chairs look a little bit classier though with the high back. So on sketch 6, I'm going to make the back a little bit higher, look a little bit more classy. Let's try 2 feet, maybe 2.25. It's probably a little bit too high. So 2.05. We'll do that. Close. And there you have both my struggling graphics because of my Dell dock and my chair. Hiding these sketches. I love it. In fact, I think I like it better than my other chair. You can kind of see how my other chair looks. These front legs come out a little bit more, so I think this time around this is a lot more well controlled and better looking. So hey, glad I did this video because now I've improved the chair. For grins, view, appearance, let's go with shiny plastic. Maybe I'll choose a nice green. But that came out as black. View. I don't think I applied it. Let's choose green. Okay. That's funny. There we go. And close. So that is the Panton chair. Hope this video was helpful, and if it was, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.